RWBY is capable of traveling at an extreme velocity from one point to another by breaking herself down to her molecular components, thus negating her mass, and then reassembling them at the destination, theoretically making it possible for her to transport all of us in the same way, as mass no longer matters.
What the hell was that explanation? Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and that beautiful technicolor rainbow in between my YouTube. This is Thunder Dragon 01 back at you with another video, and this time it's going to be one of my first ever, well, embarrassing attempts at a debunking video. The video in the beginning, as you saw, is from RWBY Volume 8, Chapter 3, Strings. And needless to say, Penny's explanation on RWBY's semblance is a bit of a cop-out. And the reason I say a bit of a cop-out is because it literally reintroduces us to what RWBY's semblance was the first time we've seen it before. From what we've seen before, RWBY's semblance is basically a speed type that allows her to zip from point A to point B, like most other speed type superhero abilities like super speed and whatnot, or teleportation. But for as long as I've been following this series, I've seen RWBY's semblance in action more often than not, and right now that explanation just basically retcons everything we know of RWBY's ability out the window. From what we've seen in the beginning chapters of RWBY, volumes 1 through 3, RWBY's speed type semblance has nothing to do with mass negation. I mean, sure, she may be able to make herself as light as a feather, but it still doesn't change the fact that she's still able to retain a solid form once she's done running at high speed. I'm about to go into full detail about what that means later. I'm not a complete math or science whiz, so I'm just going to give you my, well, best interpretation from what I can offer you. So, I can tell you right now, Penny's explanation on RWBY's ability is completely asinine and false. The way she explained mass negation, that's not exactly how that works. Because if RWBY was able to negate her very own mass, then she would most definitely be able to go through many solid objects and even people. And I'm pretty sure many of you are going to say, that's not how mass negation works either. You still retain your mass even though you're in zero gravity. I'm well aware of that. But here's the thing though, mass means weight. And the more weight you have, it means the more heavy you are. And RWBY is as light as a feather when she's using Rose Petal Burst. Now, case in point, if RWBY was flying in 0G, she would still retain her weight, but would she be able to use Rose Petal Burst in that regard? Most definitely, but that doesn't mean she's automatically weightless, because in the later volumes of RWBY, I'm going to show you exactly what this whole mass negation thing is completely false about. Now, I'm going to give you some examples as to why RWBY's ability to negate mass is false. Because, I'm just going to get into the explanation. Now, in RWBY Volume 2, Chapter 3, A Minor Hiccup, we see RWBY trying to run away with Penny at high speed, but what we see here is RWBY struggling to try to get Penny off the ground. How is that possible, you may ask? Well, the simple word is physics. Let me show you the clip. And I know some of you are going to give me the excuse saying, semblances have the ability to evolve in the RWBY series, and I'm not going to deny that. Semblances do have the ability to evolve. But here's the thing though, Penny is implying that even in the beginning of RWBY's development, all the way back in Volume 1, that she had the ability to negate her mass as well as another person's while carrying them in mid-flight with Rose Petal Burst. But as you saw before, RWBY was struggling to even get Penny off the ground the minute she took off. Granted, she took off at high speed, but RWBY still couldn't go any further distance without Penny dragging her down. And as you saw clearly, RWBY showed complete physical exhaustion when trying to carry around something heavier than her. So, that negation of mass thing is false. And another thing, in Volume 3, Chapter 9, PvP, Mercury and RWBY had themselves a bit of a small face-off. But as soon as RWBY tried to interrupt the fight between Penny and Pyrrha, Mercury was able to intercept her in mid-flight when she used Rose Petal Burst. And keep in mind, like I said before, if RWBY was able to negate mass, that means she should have been able to fly past Mercury. But Mercury was still able to make contact with her midair. Watch. Now you see there? Mercury was able to knock RWBY out of the air mid-flight. But then a comment like this that I saw in the video got me laughing. It says, and I quote, "He used a dust-augmented kick. His weapons are in his boots, remember?" No, we didn't forget Mercury has weaponized boots. But you can clearly see from the clip that Mercury used no dust bullets to try to stop RWBY in mid-flight. For those of you that don't believe me, I'm going to give you a replay of the clip, and this I'm going to go for a freeze frame to show you that Mercury didn't even use dust to stop RWBY. It was a small impact shockwave. Check it out. Thus negating her mass? More like Mercury kicking her ass. So that just shows that the negation of mass theory is completely false. And before I drag on further with this whole thing, I'm going to also basically nip something else in the bud. During Penny's explanation of RWBY's semblance, she says she also has the ability to carry other things and items along with her semblance before. And I want you to just look at the look on RWBY's face when she realizes that she was able to do something that she never knew she could do when Penny explains it. Just take a look at that face real quick.
RWBY is capable of traveling at an extreme velocity from one point to another by breaking herself down to her molecular components, thus negating her mass and then reassembling them at the destination, theoretically making it possible for her to transport all of us in the same way, as mass no longer matters.
What?
You can use your semblance on all of us.
You see that face? This is the face that says, what the fuck is she talking about? Well, RWBY, allow me to basically put this in layman's terms. You have the ability to carry objects with your semblance as well as people. But here's the thing. RWBY didn't know she could do this. But here's also another thing. She did this twice. She was able to carry Nora back in Volume 4 when they fought a Geist Grim, and when they were fighting those modified Griffin Grim back in the beginning of Volume 6's opening chapter. She carried Weiss with her. I'm going to show you two distinct clips of what the hell I'm talking about.
Thank you later.
Are the writers not paying attention to what they write and what they're establishing? RWBY is able to transport items as well as people during her rose petal burst while taking away their molecular density. Tell me, ladies and gentlemen, how does this not attribute to molecule oscillation? And for those of you who don't know what that means, molecule oscillation is where you vibrate your molecules to a frequency where everything becomes practically intangible, to the point where things start to phase through you. This is exactly what Rose Petal Burst should have been like, but no, RWBY is still able to contain her mass and density when she's able to move through things faster than anyone can track. And if you don't believe me yet again, I'm going to play you a clip from Volume 7, Chapter 12, Friends Like These, where RWBY basically blitzed past a door, taunting Harriet afterwards.
We're the best huntsmen in Atlas.
You were. Then you trained us.
Ladies and gentlemen, this makes no sense. It makes no sense. If mass no longer matters, then how is RWBY still able to do that? Now, I got into a debate with someone else with this in someone's video's comment section, but I'm not going to bring them up because I'm trying to be respectful in the argument and basically you're trying to get their point across. Like I said, I'm not a science wizard and I'm not a math wizard, but I do know superpowers like the Flash's ability and Sonic's ability to phase through solid matter, and this is something Rose Petal Burst should have been like. What if RWBY has the ability to basically do this, but properly? What if Rooster Teeth didn't know exactly how to convey RWBY's power properly? Because if Rose Petal Burst can just negate mass, then answer me this. How come she can't fly through solid matter or people? If she's able to transport people with her Rose Petal Burst along with herself, how come she's not able to fly through solid matter? I need to know this. I need to know this, and I want to know what the writers were basically smoking. Whatever pack they were, I want a piece of it, because It must have been some good ganja if they know what the hell they were writing. And for the record, no, I'm just joking. I don't actually smoke ganja. So anyway, guys, to leave a relatively long video with a, well, basically too long, didn't listen, or didn't like paying attention, RWBY's Rose Petal Burst does not negate mass. It may look like that on paper, but it just doesn't make sense. And what do I care? This is fiction. Fictional characters break the laws of physics every single time they're on screen and or paper. This was Thunder Dragon 01 signing off. Stay safe, stay healthy, and remember, hugs, not drugs. If you like this video, feel free to like and leave a comment down below and give me your thoughts on what you thought of this little, well, debunking rant video. And basically ring my notification bell out, kind of like you're ringing your best friend's phone. Laters.